Well, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. So me and Willie have ventured out and we've come to the famous Kelpies here in the Helix Park in Falkirk. So join us tonight and let's see what images we can get. Alright, so the first picture we've spotted is we're trying to get the Kelpies reflection in the water here. Now we did come here hoping we would get some blue hour. And the other thing is we thought the sky would be clear because last night we had an amazing aurora borealis. So what I'll do is I'll share a couple of those images that I took from my back garden last night of the aurora borealis. Right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to focus in on the Kelpies and I'll try and get the reflections of the Kelpies in the canal, and then what I'll do is I'll take 2 or 3 images here and I'll share those images with you now. Alright, so what we're doing here is the canal gates, well, the gates are locked and all the water's overflowing. So what I'm doing is I'm taking 2 or 3 shots here. I'll use different compositions, I'll use a landscape, I'll use a portrait, and I've got my settings at a 6-second shutter speed, f8 ISO 100, and what I'll do is once I've finished taking these images I'll share them with you now. Alright, so I've come further down the canal and I've got 2 or 3 longboats in front of me on the left hand side here, and then I've got the Kelpies in the background. So the composition that I've got is I've got the boats on the left hand side, Kelpies in the top third, and then I've got all that space on the right hand side that kind of leads us down the canal towards the Kelpies. But we'll keep taking different compositions here and we'll see what different types of images we get, and we'll work our way down past the canal barges until we actually reach the Kelpies. Alright, so as I'm walking down closer to the Kelpies, I'm walking past the longboats at the canal. Some fun tips about the Kelpies. So the Kelpies are over 100 feet tall, and that's about 30 metres, and the Kelpies cost £5 million to build. So there you are, some interesting facts, and there's a couple more and I'll share them with you later on. So what I'll do is I'll keep walking and then we'll catch up soon. Alright, so I've stopped in front of one of these longboats and I'm just trying to catch as much of the blue hour sky as I possibly can. The longboat, one of the canal barges, has actually got his lights on. So what I've got is a 4-second shutter speed. I've got f5.6 and ISO 100, and I'm getting a really nice blue hour effect with the blue sky in the back of the Kelpie, which is going to change quite soon because it's going to get really dark. And I'm hoping I've got enough exposure to get the light in the barge. The only thing will be the kind of public light there. But what I'll do is I'll take a couple of shots here and then I'll share those images with you. So I've stopped a wee bit further down and I'm getting some close-ups and I'm getting some reflections. So another fun fact about the Kelpies is the Kelpies are the largest equine sculptures in the world. So they're record breakers in their own right. And the other fun fact about the Kelpies is they're actually been built to last over 120 years. So while I'm taking these shots, I've been using really long shutter speeds, and when I mean a long shutter speed I mean 6 to 8 seconds, but when you're taking shots at night and you've got a sculpture like the Kelpies that keep rotating the coloured lights, when you have it on a long shutter speed that washes out the colour, so you don't get the colour. So now what I've had to do is to compensate for that is speed up my shutter speed, so I'm now at a 1 second shutter speed. I've got f8 and I'm now at ISO 800, so I'm now having to play with my ISO and my f-stop so that I can get a faster shutter speed, so I can catch the colours of the Kelpies without them being washed out if I had used a longer shutter speed. So hopefully that's a tip for somebody. Anyway, I'll take a couple more shots here and then I'll share those images with you. Alright, so I've come down to the basin of the canal, and then what I'm able to do is now walk round and then come in at the back end of where the Kelpies are situated. But in the basin, what you've got down the bottom here is a row of 5 or 6 different huts, and they're all different colours and they've all got a light on, and it's really nice. So what I'm trying to do is get a composition where I've got a boat on the bay on the right hand side, and then I'm using that as a leading line towards the huts at the bottom of the basin. So what I'll do is I'll take 2 or 3 shots here and then I'll share those images with you. Alright, so I've walked right round the basin and I've just come over the little drawbridge. But before I move towards the Kelpies, you've got these huts that I mentioned earlier. So now what I've got is I've got a wee composition here where I've got 3 of them all lit up together. I've got the reflection in the canal, and I'm just trying to gauge whether I need to be higher or lower to get more of a reflection in the water. But I've put in a long shutter speed, so I've got a 13 second shutter speed, f8 ISO 160, and that's worked out quite nice. So what I'll do is I'll take a couple more images and then I'll share those images with you. Alright, so as we walk closer towards the Kelpies, a couple more fun facts. So there's over 5 million people now visit the Kelpies every year, which is fantastic for the area, and it's great for tourism in the Falkirk area. The canal that we've been walking past is the Clyde and Forth Canal, but the Kelpies themselves weigh over 300 tonnes each, so they're massive structures. So here we've got a nice red, so we'll find a nice location and we'll get some new photographs. So the Kelpies were actually designed and built by a famous Glasgow sculptor called Andy Scott, and they were actually built in 2013, so they've been here for quite some time now. So what I'm trying to do here is, with this composition, is just get the Kelpie on the left out of frame and get the back end of the Kelpie on the right in frame, and I'm just trying to catch the change in colours as they go. But what I'll do is I'll take more photos and I'll share those images with you. Alright, so behind me there's one of the entrances to inside the Kelpie, so you can actually go inside, and the way you do is you just pay for a tour, and as part of an organised tour you get access to the inside of the Kelpie, so it's well worth a visit. So I'm standing watching these 2 people in front of the Kelpie, and I want to use them as scale, so it shows you how huge these 100-foot Clydesdale horses are. Even though they're called the Kelpies, they were actually modelled off the working horses of the canal with the Clydesdales. It's actually great when you're in this park having people in front of them, because it really does help show off the size, and as the colours keep changing it's actually pretty cool. So I have actually increased my shutter speed, so I'm now shooting at a second, so some of the people that are walking about will be blurred, but if they stand still for a minute, I'll probably capture them and they'll just be silhouetted out. So I'm actually shooting at ISO 320, 1 second and f8, but I'm just about to increase my ISO just so that I can get a bit of a glow in the background. So what I'll do is I'll take these images and then I'll share them with you now. Alright, so I've come further down and what I'm now trying to do is get the front of the Kelpies face on, but I'm trying with this one on the left hand side first, and I'm just trying to see if I can get, oh that's really nice. So the other thing I'm trying to do is if I turn the camera around into portrait mode, I might be able to get some kind of reflection in the water here, although the water's got quite a lot of movement, so it's not exactly mirror like, but it is really nice. So I've also got a shot with using the public lights as a leading line, and the Kelpie on the right here, the head's pointing up to the right. So if I use the lights as a leading line for the bottom left hand side of the image, turn it into portrait mode, and then that way I can get quite a nice symmetry in the image. So what I'll do is as I'm talking, I'll share that image with you now and you can see what I'm talking about. Alright, so what I'll do is I'm just going to take a lot more compositions here, but what I'll also do is experiment with all the different colours and try and capture 2 or 3 different colours while the Kelpies are changing, and what I'll do is I'll share those images with you now. So that's me now working my way around to the very front of the Kelpies, and I've got hopefully some nice reflections in the mirror of the pond in front of them. But the whole ethos of the Kelpies and the way they were built was because they were there to celebrate and tribute all the working horses in Scotland, especially Clydesdale horses. And the Kelpies, even though they're called Kelpies, are based off Clydesdale horses, and they are actually named, so you do have names for the 2 Kelpies. So you've got Duke and you've got Baron, and not many people know that. Well, I didn't, so many other people probably will, but I didn't know that. So what I'll do is I'll take a few compositions here, I'm waiting on the colours changing, and then what I'll do is I'll get individual shots each of the Kelpies when they've changed colours with the reflections, and I'll share all those images with you now. Alright, so I've now come to the front and side of the Kelpies, and what I'm doing is I'm taking a number of different shots where I've got them on a wide view where I've got the 2 of them in the image. I'm now singling out each of the 2 Kelpies and I'm taking shots. I'm using landscape at the moment, and then what I'll do is I'll turn it over into portrait. I'm going to try and capture as many colours as I possibly can in the time that I'm standing here, and then what I'll do is I'll share those images with you now. So that was good fun tonight, Wally.
It was great. Good night.
You get some nice photographs.
Hopefully.
So I've taken some shots of the Kelpies just there for this distance. So what I'll do is I'll share them with you now. Alright, so I think we'll end the video here.
Good idea.
It's a wee bit chilly now, and they're going to shut the place in about 15 minutes, so we better hurry up back to the car.
Yep.
So, hope you like the images. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks again to Willie,
Right, cheers, Stuart.
and here's to the next video.